Hello everyone, this is VGTI. As you all know, I've been gone for, a little while, and as I discussed in my last video, a lot has happened since I was last active on here. So, you know what sounded good? Revisiting Half-Life after all these years. After all, it was my last topic of choice before my absence, and a big topic surrounding this channel in general, so what better way to kick things off, right? While it's true there's no Episode 3 or Half-Life 3 still to this day, something big did happen for Half-Life recently. One Mr. Ex-Valve employee, Mark Laidlaw, heard the dying hopes among fans everywhere, giving him cause to open the floodgates and give us all what we had been waiting for 10 years. A fanfiction. Huh. Okay, some context. What's pretty odd timing-wise is that Mark Laidlaw left Valve right around the time I put out my Bream video, and then quit YouTube. For those who don't know, Laidlaw is best known for being the writer behind the Half-Life games. That awesome story we all love? That's thanks to him. According to Laidlaw, the main reason he left Valve was due to his age. From the way the man spoke about his time there, and the things he had to say about Half-Life after leaving, it always seemed like Laidlaw was just as upset as any of us about the fate of the Half-Life series. I discussed this a bit in my Where is Half-Life 3 video, but Valve has changed in a number of huge ways over the past decade. They've been just as quiet about Half-Life as ever, even since Laidlaw left. At some point, it just got to be too much. So, Laidlaw takes to his personal blog, where he writes out a lengthy plot summary for something called Episode 3. He posted this summary on August 25th, 2017. Naturally, the internet blew up. Episode 3 reads like a pseudo-Half-Life story. All of the names of key Half-Life characters and locations are swapped for vaguely similar ones. Gordon is called Gertie Fremont, Alyx Vance is called Alyx Vance, stuff like that. Laidlaw likely switched the names for copyright reasons. Amazingly, the entire blog post describes a sort of what would have been for Episode 3's story, or at least how Laidlaw outlined the story back when he worked at Valve. Thanks to his clever wording, Valve wasn't able to take the post down, nor have they said anything about it since it got outed. It's kind of surreal, and kind of wonderful, that Episode 3 is the closest thing to a true Episode 3 we're ever going to get. The brutal cliffhanger from Half-Life 2 Episode 2 had been left hanging for 10 whole years, only for the series' former writer to finally tell us what it would have been like had we gotten it. I've covered a lot of ground with Half-Life. I've made a lot of theories about it. There's really not much more to do, but thankfully Episode 3 opened up some new ideas. One of these ideas is a new theory, and that's what I'll be discussing today. In order to get to that, here's a quick summary of Episode 3 for you. Spoilers though, from here onwards, so watch at your own risk. After Eli's death, Gordon and Alyx head to the Arctic via chopper, with Resistance members following them. They're headed there to find the Borealis. After crash landing and walking the rest of the way, they find the mysterious Aperture Science vessel, only to find it shifting in and out of reality. The Combine are there, of course, trying to capture it, but failing. They do manage to capture Gordon and Alyx, though, thanks to the help of Dr. Breen, who is now an advisor grub of sorts. His consciousness got uploaded into that body shortly before his death in Half-Life 2. Breen admits to our heroes that he's being kept prisoner at this point by the Combine, and wants to die. Alyx doesn't want to give him the relief, but Gordon secretly quickens his death before the two escape. Soon after, they find Mossman and rescue her. She wants to use the Borealis to help the Resistance like Kleiner does. Alyx disagrees and wants to follow her father's wishes and destroy it. Luckily, Mossman has the keys needed to anchor the Borealis temporarily into their reality. She does so, and the trio get on board, unsure of what they're going to do with the ship. At this point, they discover what's so special about the Borealis. It contains an Aperture Science device called the Bootstrap device. This device is capable of generating a field, which teleports anything caught in it throughout time and space, making it extremely valuable teleportation technology, and something the Combine want for their own use. This device flings the trio throughout time and space, jumbling everything up. Alyx and Mossman start arguing about what to do with it. Mossman overpowers Alyx and prepares to deliver the ship into the Arctic with the Resistance, but Alyx shoots her dead. and re-aims the Borealis for one destination, the off-world Combine Nexus. Her plan is to make it self-destruct, killing her and Gordon, but also destroying the Combine's means of invasion. G-Man then appears to Alyx, telling her that they have things to do. Alyx goes with him, the two leaving Gordon behind on this suicide mission. As Gordon's about to arrive to the Nexus, the Vortigaunts save him, the same way they did in Episode 1. That's the plot in a nutshell. Crazy, right? But let's get right to the theory at hand here. Alyx holds the key to the Combine's downfall. After reading through Epistle 3, that much became clear. It also means my theory about why Eli had to die in my first Half-Life video was wrong. There, I theorized G-Man strung together Eli's death because he wanted the Borealis to remain intact and Eli would prevent that. But as we can see from Epistle 3, G-Man doesn't care what happens to the Borealis. He gladly let it explode. So why did Eli have to die? The reason is Alyx Vance. As it turns out, Alyx is the reason for everything G-Man does from Episode 1 onwards. I recommend watching my first Half-Life theory video if you haven't already yet, but if you haven't, the gist of it was that G-Man and his employers are representations of destiny and fate in the Half-Life universe. They can see the outcomes of every action, every timeline, and string events together to go down the best timeline. They do this by making contracts with people. The theory adds the idea that the Combine made a contract with G-Man in the past, but broke the rules in some way, causing G-Man to seek their downfall as punishment. And all of this I still believe to be true. The G-Man wants the Combine to be destroyed, but being fate itself, he can see which actions will best lead to that outcome. So why did he save Alyx at the end of Episode 3? Why did Eli have to die in the first place? And why is Alyx the key to stopping the Combine? If we go back to the end of Half-Life 2, that's where it all begins. Gordon and Alyx succeeded, but the teleporter at the end began to explode. G-Man freezes time, revealing that he's going to put Gordon into stasis since there are more offers for his services. At this point, he's not concerned with Alyx. He's content to let her die in the explosion on the Citadel. Episode 1 changes everything. The Vortigaunts, using their powers, save Gordon and Alyx from G-Man's grasp. Gordon's no longer in stasis, and Alyx is no longer going to die. Naturally, this angers the G-Man. We don't hear from him again until Episode 2, thanks to the Vorts blocking him out. This is where it gets weird, though. When G-Man returns, notice that he's taken a renewed interest in Alyx Vance. He discusses with Gordon how he saved her from Black Mesa during the Resonance Cascade, despite Bream being against it. He then talks directly to her, asking her to relay the unforeseen consequences message to Eli. So what gives? Why is G-Man so interested in Alyx after not even caring about her in Half-Life 2? The reason is the Vortigaunts. Thanks to their interference, a new timeline was created. One that the G-Man and his employers couldn't possibly predict. Despite being able to see everything that could possibly happen, the Vorts are immune to the G-Man's abilities. Saving Gordon and Alyx means a new timeline, with new events and new branching paths. This also means that Alyx Vance has now become the key to stopping the Combine, for some reason that we don't know. From Episode 1 onwards, G-Man's goals changed completely. No longer interested in Gordon, G-Man begins stringing things together to get past the Vorts and influence Alyx Vance. Near the end of Episode 2, she relays the G-Man's message to Eli, speaking as if she were in a trance while G-Man's image flashes on the nearby screen. We've never seen the G-Man have this level of control over anyone, aside from, debatably, Gordon himself. In order to gain full control of Alyx, though, G-Man likely realized that he needed every possible obstacle out of the picture. Naturally, this includes Alyx's friends and family, Gordon and Eli. G-Man strings together the ending of Episode 2, causing Eli's death. He also strings together the end of Episode 3, abandoning Gordon on his suicide mission and successfully capturing Alyx at long last. With no partner to assist her, and no father to snap her out of it, Alyx has effectively become the G-Man's to do his bidding, following him with no hesitation at the end of episode 3. She doesn't even look back at Gordon, though G-Man does give him a smirk. This, I believe, is why Alyx Vance had to die. As for Gordon, his usefulness ended after the Vorts saved him. His contract was up for grabs at the end of Half-Life 2, but from episode 1 onwards, G-Man has shown no interest in keeping Gordon alive. This is because the world of Half-Life entered a new timeline from that point onwards, one where Alyx holds the key, and Gordon's contract is now completely useless. G-Man outright confirms a lot of this when he remakes contact with Gordon in episode 2.
When I plucked her from Black Mesa, I acted in the face of objections that she was a mere child and of no practical use to anyone. I have learned to ignore such naysayers when quelling them was out of the question. Still, I am not one to squander my investments, and I remain confident she was worth far more than the initial appraisal.
Even G-Man himself admits that his initial appraisal of Alyx was flawed, and that she's actually an extremely valuable person. The question is, why? What makes Alyx so important to the downfall of the Combine? Since episode 3 is all we have to go off of, it's hard to say. What can be assumed, though, is that she's a lot easier to control than most people. G-Man influences her with ease, making her a valuable asset. For some reason, G-Man also mentions that he wishes he could do more to Gordon, but that he's agreed to abide by certain restrictions. It was never said what this meant, but he's likely been given some sort of restrictions by his employers when it comes to Gordon. Whatever the case, they don't have a need for him anymore, at least by episode 3. In the end, Half-Life still remains unfinished. We got the payoff we sort of wanted by figuring out what happens in episode 3, but even that ends with a cliffhanger of its own. Gordon rescued, Alyx and G-Man missing, a perfect setup for a new Half-Life game. With so many questions still left lingering, it's hard to say for sure what Alyx's role could be in the downfall of the Combine. One thing is for sure though, she's the key to it, and all of this means we can imagine what a sequel to episode 3 would have been like. You know, in a perfect world. There's been plenty of discussion surrounding episode 3. Some love it, some hate it, but no matter which side you're on, it definitely deepens the Half-Life universe even further. So, what do you guys think of the theory? Could Alyx be the key to it all, or am I way off base? Let's discuss it all in the comments below. It's hard to say if I've got any more theories about Half-Life I could make at this point. The series isn't getting any longer after all. Doesn't mean I won't return to it in the future though. Episode 3 is a fun read, and if you want to read it for yourself, I put the link in the description. For now, that's it for me guys. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you want to keep up to date on all my stuff. You can also find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Like the video if you want, or go about your business. Until the next theory, I'll see you all around. Thanks for watching.